October 3rd, FARGODOME Authority meeting to order. You have the agenda in front of you. I would ask if there are any changes to the agenda.
Motion to approve is presented.
Got a first by Dan.
Second.
Second by Dave. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, you have the minutes in front of you, so if you would please take a look at the minutes. And are there any changes?
Move to approve.
Got a first by Rick, second by Blake. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, is there any old business in front of the authority? Hearing none, we'll go on to number 3, the new business and general matters report. Rob.
All right, thank you. Just first, thank you to the group for allowing the move of the meeting so I could spend a week out of town in a different state with a lot more sun, but way more humidity with my wife and son. It was a good time, so thank you to everybody to allow that. So the month of August, as always, the month itself is on the left-hand side. The year to date through the 8 months of August 31st is on the right-hand side. August was not a busy month when you say, oh, you only had 2 events, but those 2 event days had about 7 other days tied to them and a lot of stuff and people going on with them. So it was a very busy month for August, particularly with it being August. Had 2 events, attendance of 36,800 compared to a budget of 25,500. We had total event income of just shy of $650,000 compared to a budget of just over $466,500. We had indirect expenses of $513,000, or about $84,000 above the $429,000 budget. But we did have a net surplus for the month of August of $319,800, which was more than $130,000 above the budgeted $189,000. Obviously, with the 2 concerts, Def Leppard, Motley Crue, and then Pink, very good attendance at both. Ancillary revenues, parking, food and beverage, merch were strong. So with those, we were about $188,000 above budget there, and we actually ran through 3 concerts, because if you recall, we call them a concert, but we really work off of attendees. And so one concert is 8,500, 9,000 attendees, because we don't know what type of concert, so we ran 3 in basically because it was 2 full house concerts. And then on the meeting room side, we didn't have much time for meeting room activity, and August is slow, but we did still have a couple of events. On the expense side, labor was slightly above budget, a lot to do with non-event labor, getting ready and coming out of those shows, as well as overtime, but offset with one less full-time staff person. The G&A was above budget. Another payment for the Baker Tilly with the expansion financial modeling ran through. Operations was above budget, about $27,000. Very warm month, and with a lot of activity. 3 load-in days and a load-out day for Pink, 2 load-in days, and part of a load-out day for Motley Crue besides the actual day. Running a lot of steam through the system there. Any questions on the month of August? Year to date then, we've had 56 events with total attendance of just about 264,000 people, which is about 14,000 above the budgeted 249,500. We've had total event income of just shy of 2.5 million compared to a budget of 2.1 million. We've had expenses of just over 3.5 million, so we are about 193,500 above a budget of 3.368 million in expenses. However, year to date, we have a net surplus of 259,000 compared to a budgeted deficit of about 58,500. So we're sitting in a somewhat comfortable position. Obviously, we had 4 months left to go, and we're still looking at all of that as well. If you want me to go over any of the highlights of the monthly financial or year-to-date specifics, I can, but I'm not saying anything because there's one thing you notice if you've been paying attention on the year-to-date event income variances that we only see one of at this time, but I don't want to jinx it. So we're going to go with that for now. It was very busy. It was very busy. That was, I think it's safe to say it was a pretty long 10 days for everybody in the building.
Mr. Chair, the financials were reviewed and received, approved at the Finance Committee. So at this point, I would make a recommendation to the FARGODOME Authority to accept the financials as presented.
First, got a second for Blake?
Nancy? Yes. Dan?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Blake?
Okay, moving on, since our last meeting, which was Tuesday, August 29th, it's football season. So we had the turf down, getting ready. NDSU's home opener versus Maine, about 15,500 people, good crowd, lots of energy. Overall, a great game. Food and beverage was good, different things such as that. Then on the 10th, we had the first of what will be 4 full Sundays of youth football. This one was from the kind of out-of-town teams, Carrington, Lisbon type area. On Sunday the 10th, Thursday the 14th, the NDSU College of Health Professions had their career fair and scholarship program. The lobby, the East Concourse, they had employers for their job fair, and then upstairs in the 200 level meeting rooms had their scholarship reception with presentations, snacks, and pictures. And then that following Saturday, the 16th, about 15,500 for the NDSU versus Central Arkansas football game. Turf came out off the floor, and on the 19th and 20th, Tuesday the 19th was load-in. Wednesday the 20th was the NDSU fall combined career fair, job fair. Almost the whole floor, over 65,000 square feet of employers doing interviews, solid traffic all day long for students coming through and doing the interviews. I talked to a couple of the employers I knew that were on the floor. They said there's a lot of people here for a job fair. So I think things are hopefully turning around and people are hopefully getting jobs. Football turf came back out on Thursday the 21st, and this past Saturday the 30th, NDSU hosted South Dakota for their homecoming game. About 17,000 in attendance there, so another good attended game. And then this past Sunday was the second of 4 days with the Dynasty Elite, which is a local program. Started up, they had about 7 youth football games here this past Sunday. Any comments from members or otherwise of past events? Okay, moving forward then with today, the Nickelback will be having a pre-rig tomorrow, about a 5-6 hour pre-rig in the afternoon, getting ready. Then the show will load in at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Thursday morning, the 5th. We'll have that show on the 5th. They'll actually get the weekend off and leave the turf off of the floor, as in the following week, the Big One Arts and Craft Fair, which I know it's been in here over 10 years, but it's been here for a while. We'll move in on Thursday the 12th and have their event on the Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th. That'll get done about 6 o'clock. The football turf actually will come out overnight, and we will host another day of FM Athletics 13-14 football games on Sunday the 15th. Leaving the football turf down, as NDSU will then host Western Illinois on Saturday the 21st, and then Murray State on Saturday the 28th, with sandwiching the 4th day of youth football on Sunday the 22nd in there. So still another busy September, or I guess October coming up as we get into an even busier November. Questions, comments from the board? That would conclude my report.
All right, thank you. We'll go to committee reports. Dave?
Yeah, the Finance Committee met on this past Wednesday, and a couple orders of business was the State Investment Board, Scott Anderson from the State Investment Board came and presented to the committees as an overview of not only what the investment board does, but then also spoke to what our investments were. What the underlying theme is, if something moves forward with the renovation in the convention center, is that we may need to draw down on the permanent fund, and what is the best way to go about that. So there was a long conversation. There was two parts of the conversation: review of our portfolio and what the investment board does, and there was also conversation to review that. If you're interested in seeing detailed information with respect to the FARGODOME and its financial performance, it starts on page 17 and goes through page 35, I believe. I wouldn't do justice trying to explain it after what Scott Anderson did, so I encourage you to look at it if it's of interest to you. Then the other part of that is in anticipation of the renovation / convention and possibly needing seed money to kick that off. In that area of $5 million was discussed. Do we need to have funds set aside in anticipation of that? Through conversation and visiting with Scott, we're sitting in a good position and would have access to that money if we need to do something like that. So it was decided to, for now, not to do anything and see how things play out between now and December 5th. With respect to projects and capital updates, the football turf, the winch motors on the north end are anticipated to be replaced sometime in December or January. And then, excuse me, the FARGODOME expansion is that Rob discussed, no, not Rob, yeah, Rob is researching the options for the master facility planning contract with RLE at this time right now. Again, that's another item that's we're looking into, and more to come on that in anticipation of what the December 5th vote is out there. So that is the investment board. The August financial's been approved, project updates, and then of course the escrow balance and performance reports are in your packet. Those are to be received and reviewed, no action necessary. So with that, Mr. Chair, I conclude the Finance Committee report.
All right.
Is that a motion to approve it? then?
Yes.
Okay. Nancy? Yes. Dan?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
All right. Item 3C, discussion of FARGODOME remodel and convention center.
Note to self, read the agenda before you come into the meeting, and when, look at it closer when you're trying to get out of the office and somebody sends it to you right before vacation. But it works out well.
Okay.
Since David said more would be to come on the extension of the RLE agreement in place for the master planning, as we've discussed, I believe at the last two meetings, the RFQ that went out in 2018 for that was written with phases in there. And phase one was what was completed. Phase two involves consisting of the design development through construction level documents and a detailed construction cost estimate, and bidding for the project can be included in that phase. Because it was written that way, because we went through this, at last night's city commission meeting, they did extend the RLE agreement to move to phase two, and approved moving it to phase two with the funds for that being paid for out of the FARGODOME Permanent Fund. So we are ready to move on to that phase. Right before I did leave, I did get an email from Rich Wimkin. I apologize. I didn't get to it, and I thought I'd look at it, but I didn't want to take my computer in the pool. So it is there, but I had asked him to kind of list out from an architectural standpoint, project standpoint, what should we be looking at that we can do in this interim between now and the vote on December 5th, realizing that we want to do as much as we can, being responsible financially, and then be ready to kind of hit the ground running as best as we can should a favorable outcome be arrived on December 5th. So he sent that to me, talking about getting some focus groups together, user groups together, to kind of start to formally bring the building program together. Obviously we have pictures and things, but that's all just renderings of what it could look like and schematic wise. Additionally, I think it would be beneficial with myself and the help of others. We'll probably put an get the beginnings of an RFP, RFQ for a construction manager at risk together. I believe North Dakota state statute kind of calls out who needs to be on that committee to evaluate any of those responses. So we'll start putting that together as well and moving forward with that so that we can kind of have an idea moving forward of what we're looking at. So any questions or follow-up from authority members, things that should be looked at, items you would want on that as we move forward through these next couple of months? I will say that I think David was talking about it earlier. I did participate in the Fargo Moorhead West Fargo Chambers Eggs and Issues event today, along with Sean Doberstein talking about the upcoming Hector improvements, and Mayor Shelley Carlson from Moorhead about the downtown Moorhead, and then FARGODOME. The different things talking about there. It was a very good conversation. Great to hear about those other two projects. And Sean and I actually were talking beforehand. One of the questions of, what other development's going to be spurred here? We kind of went, well, we don't really know, but we think there's going to be more development. I think we can all agree that in the late 1980s, there wasn't the restaurants and stuff up here that are here now that are here with the growth of Hector International, with the FARGODOME coming online, the growth of NDSU, and we hope to continue to see that. However, some of the area that would normally be available for development isn't available due to airport runway restrictions, obviously extremely valuable 100-year-old plus research plots that need to remain there. But I think other areas definitely could be ripe for some further development for the north side of Fargo with both of these projects. It looks very exciting with what Hector's doing and adding the 3 or 4 gates and doing their apron changes. And that only will enhance both FARGODOME Authority and the Convention and Visitor Bureau and CVB's ability to lure larger conferences to town, 7, 8 state regional conferences, assuming that structure gets built as well. So it was a very good conversation, and I think I did fabulous. So just let me know.
It was interesting, Sean made a comment that resonated with me, is that in 2023 they'll have, they're anticipating having 1 million passengers in and out of Fargo.
Yeah, they're on track for about 510,000 boardings, which means essentially over 1 million arrivals and departures in the year.
So that was the first time they broke 1 million in and out, meaning you fly out and you come back. So that was one of those things where you hear, you're like, this is real.
Any other questions regarding expansion, thoughts, comments? I remind you that the FARGODOME Reimagined Committee that is co-chaired by Doug Restemeyer and Deb Mathern, they're continuing to ramp up, figure what they're doing. It's a long stretch. I know it seems like a short 3 months, but there's been a lot of activity in the last 4 to 5 weeks since the announcement, but there's still more than that time left. So we got October and November for me to remind people, the citizens of Fargo, that the vote is on Tuesday, December 5th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Polling locations at the FARGODOME, the Fargo Civic Center, and the Ramada by Wyndham on 13th Avenue. Or if you'd like to, you could go to the City of Fargo's website to their vote page and register for your absentee ballot. For you 7 members, you can say other things. Or five of the 7 members.
Is that the only place to get an absentee ballot? Just to go to the website? There isn't any other options?
I don't have the answer to that question. We can research, but I think it's the easiest. Because this, or just through the City of Fargo Auditor's Office, because this election is being totally managed by the City of Fargo, not by Cass County. So it would be either contacting the City of Fargo Auditor's Office, which is in person. It's right on the first floor of City Hall. Walk into the left through the front entrance, or through the City of Fargo website. There is a page on there dedicated to this special election.
With the low turnout in the last single issue ballot, we want to make sure that message gets out, I think.
Yeah.
And it's as easy as possible to get those.
Yep.
We really need to count on the absentee ballots, I think.
And in just with a brief conversation with Doug this morning, after the event, he had mentioned that he and Deb and Flint and their group would be talking about different things there and kind of
It's on the survey.
keeping the up to date. Anything else? I may lean on some members of the FARGODOME Authority to help with that construction management at risk. I know Rick's got a lot of knowledge and experience with that.
Blake, I'm sure does.
And Blake too, yes. That's called the redirect.
All right, 4, any additional items in front of the authority?
I have a wine.
A wine?
Not a wine, unfortunately, has an H in it.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So this is the third game now.
Third game.
And it bothers me that the Shield's attention to apparel is on the big boards during the national anthem. We used to have an animated flag flying, and it just feels disrespectful. I'll be glad to go to Shields and say, can we cut that out for the amount of time that we're playing the national anthem? Maybe nobody else notices it, but that kind of thing just feels to me like a little thing that could mean a lot. And the second thing is when the guard exits with the flag, invariably, these 3 times, the opposing team has come on the field, and we are not polite to the opposing team. So subsequently, they're booing when the flag is leaving the field. Can we fix these 2 things? I understand they're 1%ers, but
Yeah, those are on NDSU athletics. We're
Is it on
talking
you?
about them.
I think from the video standpoint, we definitely can help there.
Yeah,
I
we
can't
have both
control,
those in
I
our
can't,
notes from last
I
week.
can't control fan behavior.
I know you can.
So if the fans didn't boo the opposing team and welcomed them, you wouldn't have the perception of booing the color guard and
Well,
the
and you
US flag.
understand, I know what they're doing.
I-
That just doesn't make me
100%.
feel good about what's happening.
So we're gonna move the color guard probably to the end zone, so their walk-off is immediate.
Quickly.
Yeah.
That certainly would help.
And the
But those
video
2
board is
things
not
just-
Shields, that's just our oversight. We're gonna
Okay.
change it back.
Oh, well, I love those answers. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not Shields demanding that by any means. That's just,
Well, you know, it's just a matter of,
there's a lot of things that happen with the lights on, lights off, the video, this,
Oh my
that.
gosh, yes.
The 6, 8 different buttons that have to get hit in the control room to make sure the displays, the 8 displays are showing the right things. And we'll have conversations and get that corrected.
Nancy, I think a really good observation, Spidey brought it up.
Absolutely.
thank you.
Anything else? No more whining?
By the way, I would like to point out, she said she had a wine.
A wine?
She
Or
had 2.
Plural.
that
Yeah,
is true.
wine.
So.
They were all
They were
about the
related, though.
national.
They were related.
But she owes us one.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned.
Thank you.